We have made it crystal clear the weaponization of this country has ended. Everything is on the table. We are investigating all the weaponization, all the wrongdoing that has happened. We are issuing subpoenas. We are looking at things around this country. People have to be held accountable. No one, Sean, is above the law.
No one's above the law, and turnabout is fair play. President Trump's DOJ setting its sights on former FBI Director James Comey, the longtime MAGA foe, now facing not one but two felony charges over testimony he gave to Congress nearly 5 years ago. With that, we want to bring in former Trump lawyer and former federal prosecutor Jim Trusty. Jim, I do want to share this before we sort of dive into all the nuts and bolts. I would just want to share this full screen. This is actually Don Bacon. He's a Republican from the state of Nebraska. A lot of people feel like he's a little bit maybe less conservative than they would like. Nevertheless, I want to share what he had to say and get your thoughts. He says, quote, "It is ironic that Comey was part of the lawfare against Trump, and now he's on the receiving end. Lawfare undermines any constitutional republic. This tit-for-tat and escalation weakens us." He goes on to say, it didn't start with this president, but it hasn't stopped either. Is he right in that respect, Jim?
Well, he's right to have a general reaction to the concept of lawfare. You know, lawfare is target first, evidence later. But I would tell you, I think there's major distinctions. I mean, two big distinctions in terms of how President Trump was treated. Number one, when they went after President Trump, whether you're talking about New York or Georgia or Jack Smith, it was always inventive. It was always like, what is this crime they're trying to allege? They ignore, for instance, the Presidential Records Act, or the fact that every president since Reagan has had a give and take with archives about documents, but they criminalize that. And then the second part is misconduct, you know, literally prosecutorial misconduct. I lived it when I was representing President Trump. And look, the bottom line is, when you talk about Comey, there's going to be an opportunity for his very aggressive, very skilled defense attorney to file motions to try to peel apart the process and suggest there's something wrong with the process. But what I'm not hearing the critics say is a whole lot about the substance, because there was an Inspector General report that established that Comey leaked things to a special employee, through a special employee, all the time to the New York Times. So I'm really interested to see, you know, how the trial plays out. And last thing on this, Kevin, you know, lawfare was certainly used as a weapon to go after Trump, but it also protected people. And so you can also look at this as, look, 4 years of love from the Biden administration kept Comey out of the crosshairs, kept Andy McCabe out of the crosshairs, despite being alleged to have lied 5 times. So in some ways, you can say it's tit for tat, or you can say it's just overdue.
You know, that's a very good point. And I think a lot of people are wondering how he did not manage to end up with one of those pardons. But maybe he felt like he didn't want to go down that route. I want to share this. This is James Comer, a man you know very, very well. He basically says, Jim, it's not about tit for tat. This is simple. If you lie and you obfuscate and you break the law, you'll be found out and you'll be prosecuted. Listen to him.
Dr. Fauci's lied to the House Oversight Committee. Hunter Biden lied to the House Oversight Committee. Jim Biden lied to the Oversight Committee. There are criminal referrals there as well. And I think that that Comey is the first step in what many people in America that believe in the Constitution and want to see justice, I believe, is the first step with Comey. And I think there are going to be many more.
I think there are going to be many more. I would be remiss if I didn't get you to weigh in on that, Jim. What do you think? You think this is the first of many?
Yeah, hard to know. I mean, look, I think you have to look at each case, you know, singularly, and not just assume that because you don't like Fauci and that Fauci was dishonest that he's next. But I think there's a special place for false statement prosecutions when it comes to the FBI director. I mean, you are the chief, you know, law enforcement officer for what was a reputable and powerful institution, one that's been respected around the world for years until Comey politicized it. And so I think that, you know, his stature, so to speak, earns a lot more scrutiny than maybe some, you know, folks that do a drive-by bit of testimony at Congress on some other issue.
I don't want to make it difficult for you to sort of bring in Andy McCabe and other folks out there who also could ultimately face charges. But I think if you look at sort of a wide swath here, I think it's a pretty good chance that this will be the first domino we'll all be watching together. Real quickly, let me ask you about Andy McCarthy. I don't know if you saw his comments. He says, you know, they shouldn't be doing this. Real quickly, your thoughts on another very respected attorney. His opinion differs, I believe, from yours.
Yeah, I mean, I like Andy a lot. I mean, he was the criminal chief in Southern District of New York. He's got a lot of experience, and I respect him. And there's times where we're going to disagree, and I think this is probably one. I mean, mostly I don't prejudge. We haven't, we're sitting here like pronouncing whether it's a righteous case or not. 3 days after an indictment, we have no idea what the motions practice is going to look like. We have no idea, even specifically what the false statement is when you really get down to it, what moment in congressional testimony. So I think you have to take a wait and see. I understand that there's some resistance. There's some feelings that President Trump shouldn't have weighed in on it. But at the end of the day, this is not an innovative charge. It's actually a fairly simple case, whichever way it breaks. And what's finally, I think, interesting, Kevin, Eastern District of Virginia has a rocket docket. They tend to try cases very quickly within 70 days of the arraignment. We could be seeing a trial within just a couple of months here, which would be a fascinating strategy by the defense. It worked in Ted Stevens' case because the government wasn't really ready to try the case and they botched things. So we'll see where it goes, but we could be talking about a trial in, January or February at this rate.
Which, of course, would make for a very, very busy early start to 2026, as if we didn't have enough coming up with the midterms. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Jim Trusty, thank you as always, my friend. I appreciate your time today.
Sure. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.